Welcome back to the EPS podcast, where everything is a primary source. I'm Eric Paul. I hope you've been enjoying listening to the summer shorts almost as much as I've enjoyed making them. Seeing as how the Children's Museum of New Hampshire hosts the annual New Hampshire Makers Festival, it only makes sense that several of the visitors to my booth that day were kids. This week's summer short is regarding a wide range of topics, ranging from baseball cards to Little Shop of Horrors to hand-drawn maps. Take a listen. I'm here with John at the New Hampshire Children's Museum and the Makers Fest 2022, and you selected from the table a package of baseball cards made by Donruss. What year does it say on there?
I don't know, but
Let me take a look. Alright, so this is from 19... Oh boy, it doesn't even say, does it? 1988. And it has a puzzle piece inside as well as a baseball card. So I'm wondering who's supposed to use these cards?
our family, I'd say.
The whole family?
Yeah.
Not just like a member of the family, like a kid?
Maybe me.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty into baseball and stuff and sports.
And what about the puzzle piece part?
My favorite part of that is the puzzle piece part. It's like you're building a puzzle.
Why do you think that they would have put just one puzzle piece in every pack of cards? Why not a whole bunch of puzzle pieces?
Because if you just get a whole bunch of puzzle pieces, you kind of like get thing, and you're probably thinking like, I have to buy more of these, so that's why they may take lots and lots.
So that you would buy them to try to collect all the puzzle pieces, right?
Yeah.
So what does that say about kids in 1988? What do they think they must have had?
They probably had like some good players and
Yeah, that they wanted to collect the cards for the players, but they also, if they were buying the cards themselves, what does that tell you that the kids had access to?
baseball.
And what do you use to pay for things?
Money?
Money. So they had lots of money, right? Good. So, maybe not a lot of money, because I remember it was about 50 cents to buy a card back then.
Yeah, it
Buy
was
a
probably
pack of
around like
cards.
$2.
Nowadays it would cost about $2, but back then it would be about 50 cents. So, yeah, it says something about the time period, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like it's kind of cool and like fun. Just you get some cards, like let's say hockey cards. Like I got someone at my school who loves hockey.
Yeah.
And
Well, it also helps you learn about the game a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Because if you don't have a chance to watch it on TV,
yeah, if I take the TV, it's like they're not doing a game or something, you can just look at the card.
and also, I mean, these cards were for players all over the country, not just in the local areas. So
Whoa,
around
I
here,
did not know that.
yeah, around here you only get to watch like Bruins games for hockey and Red Sox games for baseball,
Yeah, and football
and the Patriots
and
and
soccer.
yeah. So you get the idea, definitely. So these cards allow you to get interested in players that you wouldn't otherwise know. Good job, John. Is there anything else you want to say about those cards?
Not really, but this. Now this is from like what year?
That one I would say is probably from the 1960s. It might even say on there somewhere.
Because
Can you
this-
describe it, what it is?
it's like it's a little toy thing, and like
Who's on the toy? Do you recognize that guy?
I know him, but I forget the name.
He's Donald Duck. So he's part of the Disney characters. He's
Yeah.
like friends with Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
And
And
why
like
do you like that?
I mean, I just like the detail and I like the outlines and I like how old it is.
Yeah, it looks like an old camera, like a projector actually, not a camera.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Why do you think they made that?
Just to have fun, maybe with kids. I mean, I don't really know.
Yeah, well, kids like to have toys, right?
Yeah.
Just like they like baseball cards. And then what do they do with the toys?
They play with them.
So what does that tell you that kids in that time period must have had? What do you need in order to play?
Toys.
Well, you need toys, and you also need what?
Imagination.
Yep, you need a lot of imagination. That helps with imagination too, right? Because it looks like a projector, so you can pretend that you're putting on a movie.
Yeah.
And you also need time, right?
Yeah, time.
Because you need time to play. And so this tells us that kids in that time period, whenever that was made, must have had time, and they must have known what a movie was,
Yeah.
so that they could pretend that they were showing a movie. You got it.
Yeah. See you next time.
See you next time. Thank you, bud. So I am here with Micah at the New Hampshire Children's Museum and 2022 Makers Fest for New Hampshire. And he was looking over my whole table of stuff to try to decide on which one he wanted to use and talk about. And then he went over to my wife's collection of doll houses that she made, and it was the Ninja Turtle house or lair, I guess. It's like a sewer that caught your eye.
Yes.
What is it about them that you liked the most?
I like because of them because they're like funny.
Yeah?
I mostly like the purple one because he's smart.
Donatello,
and he has,
yeah. So do you watch the cartoon? What's it on Nickelodeon now? I think they have one.
Yeah, I still watch Ninja Turtles.
Okay, so they've been around for a long time. I was probably about your age when they came out, and it was really exciting because before then, kids didn't really have their own comic book characters to call their own. We all had Superman and Batman, and they had been around for a long time, but Ninja Turtles was brand new, so we really loved them for that reason. So you like Donatello a lot, but what we're going to talk about today is the actual handmade house for them. And the question is, what's it made out of? What are some things that you can spot that you think was put into making this house?
Well, I think like some of it's like plastic.
Yeah? So and I can attest to that. I can agree with that I found some of those things. Because what's it meant to look like?
It's actually meant to look like actual metal and bricks.
Yeah, and like a sewer. And so it was actually, I helped my wife make this one. And one of the things I remember, every time we found something metal or plastic just that we didn't even know what it went to, we're like, well, that looks like something that you might find on the wall in a sewer somewhere to like turn on the water pressure or, make it look like all damp and dingy and kind of gross. So there's that. What other things do you see? Can you see what the road looks like it's made out of?
Bro, look at it. It's like made out of like, I don't know, like.
What's that squeaky stuff that when you pull it out of a box, it's all
Styrofoam.
Yeah, it's styrofoam. And so I don't know if at school you guys talk about like reusing things and not just throwing away.
I have.
I'm sure so your teachers talk about that a lot. And styrofoam is one of those things that once it gets thrown away, it takes a really long time for it to disintegrate and go away. So what my wife likes to do when she makes her doll houses is she likes to reuse things. She likes to repurpose it. So we had, I forget, it was probably from some kind of electronic, and we just had that styrofoam, and she said, all right, I'm going to make this the roof or the street for the turtles. Do you see anything else in there that this was made out of that wouldn't normally make somebody say, I'm going to make a dollhouse out of this thing?
I think it's made of like some kind of like paper or something.
Yeah. So just another box. If you look all around the
It's
station.
like boxes of like box pieces.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just all sorts of things, toys from other series. We find, she finds things like, and of course the toys you recognize, right? Those are the actual original Ninja Turtles figures.
Yes.
And so
Actually, I have one of them at my house.
does it look like that, or is it one of the newer ones?
Yeah, it actually looks like that on the blue one.
Okay, so you probably recognize, and those are almost vintage toys now. They're not quite antique, but they're vintage because they've been around, I think, for almost 30 years, if not more. And I was saying before I hit record, and I always like to be the ambassador of this, that we're here in Dover, New Hampshire, recording this right now, and that's where the Ninja Turtles came from. But it's interesting because they take place in New York City. Why do you think, now are you from New Hampshire?
Yes.
Okay, so why do you think that the creators of the comic put the characters of the Ninja Turtles into New York City and not, say, Dover, New Hampshire?
I don't know. So because that was more like villains in that place. So
Yeah?
I think they make so they get bad more.
Right, there's a lot more action in a place like New York City.
And
A lot more.
that's a lot of dirty stuff, and I think that they live in a dirty place. So I think they were
Let's hope nobody from New York listens to this right now, but you're right. I mean, it's. I think most people know that as much as New York has a lot of great things to go see, there's also some crime, and that's why all the superheroes are there. Spider-Man is there.
Batman's there.
Batman is in his own version of New York. You're right. Gotham City. They wouldn't really have a lot to do as superheroes if they just sat around a small town, right? So, is there anything else that you'd like to say about that?
Really?
But Micah, I'm so glad that you stopped by the table today, and I'm so glad also that my wife's creation caught your eye so much. And by all means, I hope you enjoy the rest of your time here at the Dover, New Hampshire Makers Fest.
Thank you.
Take care. I am here with Sam, and Sam is going to talk to me about Little Shop of Horrors, because one of the doll houses that my wife displayed here at the Makers Fest is that of Audrey in the dentist's office from that movie and play Little Shop of Horrors. So I assume you've seen that movie then, right?
Yeah.
What is it that you like about that movie, Little Shop of Horrors?
I guess the voice that the plant had.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the movie in a really long time, but the one thing I remember is just feed me.
Yeah, it has that kind of deep voice, right?
Yeah.
I remember watching it because the movie came out in the 80s, and I remember watching it when I was about your age, and I got kind of scared because I didn't know it was going to be a man-eating plant in that movie. But actually, the part that really scared me was the dentist part. And so I didn't know if that was... Do you remember the movie being scary for you, or was it okay?
I think I was so young that when I watched it, I was I don't really know what's going on. I didn't know what was going on,
So it wasn't that bad. It was nothing too bad. So I'm wondering, and the question I selected for us to chat about real quick is, who is the intended audience or user of this? So when it comes to the movie, Little Shop of Horrors, what age group do you think that they made that movie for?
I think kind of early 20s, maybe around 19, 22.
Okay, so they're making it for people in their 20s or so. Because the movie, the story is set, I want to say in the 50s, because it has a lot of rock and roll and doo-wop music in it. And so they might have been gearing it towards younger people, but definitely. So one of the reasons I think I was scared by it was because I knew a lot of the actors in it from other stuff. Like Rick Moranis is in the movie, and I knew him from Ghostbusters. He was kind of the funny guy from Ghostbusters, and I knew him from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which is another kids movie. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll watch this. This looks fine because he's in it, but it's like I said before, it's a man-eating plant, and it's kind of violent in some parts. So I'm like, maybe this isn't really a kids movie. It's probably definitely for people a little bit older.
Yeah.
Because at the same time, my parents, they liked it a lot. They were watching it, and they're like, yeah, this is our kind of movie, because it had music from when they were young and things. So what does that tell you about the 1980s, that they made a movie that they chose the people that they did to be in it? Somebody that was known and liked to kids, but with music for older people.
I think that they wanted like pretty much everyone to
Yeah.
like it. Like for older people,
Yep.
they like heard the music and they listened to the music when they were younger, and then for the kids, it's like the movies that they watch have a lot of those actors in it.
Yeah. And so they wanted as broad of an audience as possible, right? Because, well, especially in the 80s, because movies have changed a lot in recent years. Yeah, movie theaters aren't as big, and even home video isn't. But you might not know this, but back in the 1980s, we had these things called video stores, and you would go and rent movies that you wanted, and it was kind of like a movie theater in that they'd have posters and sometimes the big cardboard cutouts from the movies, the same thing you would see in a movie theater, but they would be right next to where they had the movies for rent. And I think that's exactly what happened. So the movie maker, who did you know who directed that movie?
I think I used to, but I forgot his name.
If I'm not mistaken, it's the same guy who does the voice of Miss Piggy and Grover and Yoda. His name is Frank Oz, and he I think that might have been the first movie he directed. I could be totally wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he came from that is his first time trying to direct a movie, and he did a good job with it. But yeah, they're trying to have as big of an audience as possible, and that's exactly why you make a movie in the first place, is to get entertainment to the people. So thanks for stopping by today. Is there anything else you want to say about Little Shop of Horrors?
Not really. I hope that other people, after watching this, listening to this,
That's
watch
it. And nowadays there's so many different things to watch that sometimes, I mean, I know if this happens to you, but people are like, oh, you should watch this show or that movie, and I probably have a list of like 20 things that I haven't even gotten around to watching yet, because always people are recommending this, that, and the other. So maybe if we can go back to the classics like this one, people will like it. So I thank you so much for stopping by, Sam, and I hope you have a great rest of the day at the Makers Fair.
So this clip is just going to be heard from all over the world?
Anywhere that somebody has a connection to the internet, absolutely. So
almost everywhere.
absolutely. So what's your name?
Stellan.
Stellan? That's a cool name. So we're here at the Children's Museum of New Hampshire for the Makers Festival, and we both learned that we have a connection and that we both love geography. We love maps, and so we're going to talk about what's your favorite map. That ones that you look at. Do you look at a map a lot? One particular? Because when I was your age, I used to just I would get like an atlas or a road map. I just lay it out and I would just study it. I would just look. Do you have a particular favorite place that you like to look at on a map?
I like looking at countries such as China, so ones with big population.
Yeah.
I also like small population, as small as Vatican City.
Oh wow! So you go.
I studied geography, and I have always been very interested in geography. I knew every corner of every country since I was 2.
That's such a wonderful, wonderful thing to be aware of, because it makes everything that much easier to understand in the world, doesn't it?
Yes.
And so I guess that helps answer the question that we're going to talk about for a few minutes. Why did they make it? So anybody who's ever made a map, doesn't matter if it's a road map or a map of population density or cities of the world, anybody who's ever made a map, why do you think they make maps?
To make sure that people can not get lost.
That's definitely helpful.
And also just to show people facts sometimes, or maybe a map of animals in the area, people will look at that to see and maybe mark it when they see it.
Have you ever made a map yourself?
See, I'm going to London in a couple of days.
Oh, wow.
And I made an emergency map of London and important places so that if we lose our main map, I still have the roads and everything.
I love that kind of forward thinking. That is such a great quality to have because you just mentioned two great uses for a map. One, to plan out before you go so you don't end up getting lost and that you know you get to all the places. I've been to London before too, and I did the exact same thing. I studied a map of London for a solid month before I left because I wanted to make sure that as I made my way around, I knew where I was going. You know, it's another good thing about maps, especially if you make it yourself and if you remember it, because the best way to look like a tourist, guess what? What do you think is the best way to look like a tourist?
Is to show them the map.
Have a map out in front of you as you walk around, right? And
To point where you are, where your destination
now
is,
for
and
some
how to
people,
get back.
exactly, some people, that's a good thing because you can go up to them and say, I'm lost, and so they'll come up and help you and say, do you need help on the map? But other people, they might be like, oh, there's somebody that, you know, if I want to steal their money or something like that, they're a tourist. And so it's good to make a map, like you're saying, and remember it so that way you don't need it because you've written it out and you've designed it yourself.
Yes, exactly.
So you're a great planner. I can't get over just how smart you are to plan that kind of stuff.
I appreciate it.
So when you make a map, have you ever made a map of like around where you live?
I've made a map, or I've tried to make maps of my home in Montana.
Oh, you live in Montana.
Or even my home here. Yes,
Okay.
I do. That's where I am right now.
So I would guess that it's probably, especially if you don't use any tools or anything, if you're just using a pencil or a pen, and there's probably a pretty good chance that the closer you are to your home, the more detailed your map is, right?
Right now, we're in Dover.
Yep.
So, Montana's pretty far, but I still know my way around where I live, which is Newcastle.
Oh.
And I make maps of where my grandparents' house is and other places like my own house, the streets around my house.
I got it. So, I'll tell you what, when I was your age, I used to love going to Newcastle because of the old forts. Have you ever been to Fort Constitution or to Fort Stark?
I live right off of Fort Constitution, and I go to Fort Stark. I used to live right up there, so
Oh, wow.
I could just take a 5-second car ride down to Fort Stark.
And so those two places are both great examples of why maps are made and why they're so important, right? Because in order to navigate through the water, especially a map that shows the depth of the water, a lot of even very experienced sailors will tell you that that corridor from the ocean in past the Great Isle, Newcastle, is very hard to navigate through. A good map will show you the way. And then especially, so those forts were made and then built up over the years because of different wars and things.
Such as the underwater maps of the Sunlight Zone, Twilight Zone, Midnight Zone, and Hadal Zone of the oceans. And of course the Trench of Mariana.
You are just so on top of it. This is so perfect. You have so much knowledge about maps. And it's the best thing about it is I didn't even have one on hand. Yet that was something you just plucked right out. You said, I'm going to talk about maps because they are so important. And you covered it all.
And they hope to show you how deep you can go before there's too much pressure, or how deep you need to go, or how up you need to go to find the animals that you really have always wanted to see.
You got it. So you know what? A map that I use for this podcast. So the company that I use to work my podcast through has statistical maps that show me where in the world people listen to the show. And that helps me because then I can say, if I want to get more listeners in country X, whatever the name of it is, maybe I should talk about something that interests them. And then that way I'll get more listeners there. Like around March, I did a show about Irish music. And guess what? I had listeners in Ireland that tuned in. So maps are helpful in so many ways. And I think they're only just going to get better and better as we keep making them. And as people like you grow up and continue making maps, we're in good hands. We're going to be able to find our way around no problem.
Good point. I think when we grow up, we're going to have every single inch of this planet covered on a map of whether it's the desert or the Himalayas. We'll always have a map of every single inch of it.
That's so great. I'm so pleased that you stopped by to talk about, and that's my show. It's everything. Everything is a primary source. So thanks so much for stopping by. And make sure you say hi, everybody in Radio Land.
Hello. Hi, everybody. I'm reporting live from Dover, New Hampshire.
There it is. All right. Take care. I hope you enjoyed this summer short almost as much as I enjoyed making it. Be sure to follow the EPS Podcast on all social media outlets and on the website, epspodcast.club. If you wish to support the show, please visit patreon.com/EPS Podcast. Tune in next time to the EPS Podcast, where everything is a primary source.